And first, if you guys are watching on YouTube or Twitch, you can see this screen right here. The Tennessee Titans. So we're going to all have to come to consensus. I know these first few picks are going to be easy right here, but explain why this number one pick should be Cam Ward right here. I'll let one of you guys take it.
I don't think Cam Ward is the best prospect by any means in this draft. I think he's around the 6 or 7 range of best players, or maybe even 8. But there's a glaring need at the most important position on the field, and that's quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. Cam Ward fits that description. And by no means do I even think he's the best quarterback in the draft. I think we'll get into that later when Shadir Sanders comes up. But based off of what all the scouts, the consensus, he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. He's considered the best quarterback in the draft. I just think, to me, he has all the arm talent that you need to be successful, but however, his decision making and and putting the ball into bad situations is what really hurts him. And so for me, that's what I think he's going to be the number 1 overall pick, but I'm just not satisfied with this number 1 pick at all for the Tennessee Titans. However, this is how it's going to go. And I put, for me, his ceiling is probably Jordan Love, but like his floor is definitely Jameis Winston, like where he's going to be like on the Saints or the Browns.
Hello. I think I think that's a perfect comp. He is going to go number 1. I think the Vegas betting odds was like negative 20,000. Like he's going number 1.
Yeah.
And I think with Josh saying like, oh, you know, some of the downsides and stuff like that about him, like maybe decision making, but he's got all this arm talent, all that stuff. I think he can comp out to like a Patrick Mahomes whenever he was coming in, which is insane to say. I know Patrick Mahomes is you know, the next GOAT and stuff, but I mean, if you're gonna swing on a talent like Cam, you know, might as well at 1, you know, and they need it. They need quarterbacks, so why not swing? And I think there's no way he doesn't go 1-on-1.
Yeah, no, I think it's just clear cut. And I just want to throw out a different comp there because I know he is mobile, but he doesn't have the best mobility. I'm thinking more of like a younger Big Ben if he lives up to his like full potential, where this guy has crazy arm talent, some mobility, and just somebody that's hard to tackle. But I like that Jameis Winston, that I think even Sam Darnold a little bit, all the tools and everything. But all right, yeah, Cam Ward goes number 1 right here to the Tennessee Titans. All right, number 2, Brecken. Who are the Browns with going number 2 here?
It's Travis Hunter, and they're sleeping easy. I think Travis Hunter is the best prospect in this class, and you can call me crazy. I think that he has the chance to win offensive and defensive rookie of the year. And then, like, I get that the snap count and stuff like that, but he was playing over 120 snaps a game at Colorado, and if he plays, you know, 100% at corner and then only 60% at a wide receiver, he'd be hitting 100 snap count, which is less than what he was doing in college. And then most receivers in the NFL are only playing right around, you know, 75 to 80% of the snaps. So 60% really isn't that crazy. The only downside is I don't know his longevity long term because it is an extra like 6 games. So it is a huge leap in, you know, snap count, but I think he's bar none the best receiver in this class, hands down, and the best corner. Take him at 2. He won a Heisman for a reason, and he's been just an amazing prospect, amazing athlete all around.
Josh?
For me, let me see. I think this is a no-brainer pick for the Cleveland Browns. Like, I think pairing up Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett would seem like enticing with the opportunity to draft Abdul Carter, in my opinion, but I just think Travis Hunter, and this may be crazy, is the best prospect in the history of football. I think what he's able to do, and then Cleveland GM Andrew Berry has been very adamant on Hunter's talent and how they intend to use him on both sides, there's definitely a need in the receiving core also, where there's only Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman. Cedric Tillman did come on strong last year, but injuries held him back. And then Jerry Jeudy, you're still waiting for him to kind of hit that ceiling. And I just don't think he's ever going to do it at this point in his career. We're already at 5, 6 seasons deep, and we just haven't seen him be successful. And then also on the defensive back room, you shore up a already great position. You know, you have Greg Newsome there, you have Denzel Ward, but also having Travis Hunter there,
Mhm.
as that maybe third option to take some pressure off him so he can focus on wide receiver. I just think
Mhm.
that's a match made in heaven for the Cleveland Browns for Travis Hunter.
Yeah, as far as I just want to throw out a comp right here. So as far as how he plays as a receiver, he's real quick in and out of his breaks, and he does have that burst, but I don't think like it's nothing like a Jamison Williams or maybe some of these other guys in this draft class right here. I think he's real comparable to like a CD Lamb right here. I think he could be that good, which I consider him a top 3 receiver. And as far as
Hmm.
defensive back, somebody who's been this explosive to come out, and I think he could really play safety too. I really love the Charles Woodson comp. Like I really
Uh-huh.
love that comp right there and how versatile he could be. And Charles Woodson did play some wide receiver at Michigan too. So
See, for me on my comps, I put Champ Bailey just because of the length and speed.
Yeah.
But
mhm.
I was leaning towards putting CD Lamb as his comparison. But honestly, I think he's a better contested catch receiver than CD Lamb. I think so. I lean towards because coming out the draft, no one's been as high as Travis Hunter. He has a 63% catch rate when contested, and he's one of the better. So I put Justin Jefferson actually for his comp in coming out of this draft. And then for his floor, I just don't. I think I'm so sure about Travis Hunter. His floor is going to be Stephon Diggs and Namdi Asamoah.
Okay, I like that comp right there. All right. For number 3 right here, the New York Giants. This where there can be something crazy potentially happen, but we know who's going here, right, Josh?
For number 3, I had Abdul Carter. I just think this would be an easy pick for the Giants just due to pure like value that you're going to be able to get. I know there's many options here. Like you can go Shadir, you can go Will Campbell, you can go even Ashton Genty at this pick because there is a need at running back. Tyrone Tracy, you're still kind of he had a good season last year, but you can always add another body back there. However, I think this would be a scary pick if the Giants are able to draft Abdul Carter. This would boost them almost immediately to top 3 in the NFL when it comes to defensive line. I think you pair him up with Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeau. Um, he would also be able to immediately jump into the top 10 pass rushers by year 1. Last year, he had 12 sacks alone. So I think he can replicate that, especially rushing alongside Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah, I love that. I love Abdul here. And then at first I wasn't sure because I was like, they just got Brian Burns. He's really not that old. He's only 26. And then they also have Kayvon, who they just, spent a high draft pick on. Um, so I didn't love it at first, but the more you looked at it, all they have to do is switch their defensive scheme to a 3-4. I know Brian Burns really isn't a traditional 3-4 end, but I think that he does have the size. He's 6'5", like 255. But if he could just
Yeah.
put on a little bit of weight, 260 maybe, and be able to play as that 3-4, have a sexy Dexy on the edge, and then have, they have Bobby Okereke in the middle, and then they have Simmons, and then they have, Carter and Thibodeau off the edge. I think it's like hands down the best front 7 in the NFL. Like, I think that automatically jumps them as like, they can start competing in their division, that NFC East division, which has some really good teams. And I think Abdul could just, I mean, getting the premier player at premier position. I mean, you can't really pass on a guy like that. I've seen some stuff about maybe them trading out of this, but I think it's already set in stone. I don't think you trade out of Abdul Carter.
Yeah, no, I just think Abdul Carter, he's one of the 2 guys right there that are, if you had to say a blue chip guy, somebody who's going to be a high level player, that's going to be Abdul Carter. And like you guys are saying, you cannot have enough of premium pass rushers in the league. And even if you do, you could trade away a Kayvon Thibodeau. You wouldn't trade away Brian Burns, but just that D line right there, like you're saying, the best way to stop a team is get to the quarterback. And if you could do that better than any other team in the league, then you're going to be competing for Super Bowls. Just ask Patrick Mahomes how that looked during the Super Bowl. So, sorry, I had to throw in that dig right there. But okay, so I had a tough time finding a floor for Abdul Carter. I know there's obviously the Micah Parsons, the Von Miller, that kind of level right there. But like finding the floor, I'm not saying he's going to be this bad, but like finding somebody,
I
I think a Shaquille Barrett, somebody who had a good career. He's still a free agent right now, but somebody who had like a 5-8 year run where he was good, but he was
mhm.
never that number 1. That's the floor that I had for him. So it's still pretty high level. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
See, for me, I had his floor at Dante Fowler Jr. just due to the lack of
Mhm.
size, and I just think Dante Fowler Jr. never lived up to the number 3 overall pick selection. And that's where Abdul Carter is going right now. But Dante Fowler Jr. has been consistent almost the entirety of his career. He's been around that 6 sacks a year type of guy, always consistently a staple in your pass rush, allows you to bring in depth, and I think that's where his floor would possibly be. And if you're able to be Dante Fowler Jr. and have a long career in the NFL, sure, you didn't live up to number 3 overall expectations, but you still had a good career.
Yeah. All right. All right, Brecken. The number 4 overall pick, the New England Patriots, right here. Where do they
Now,
go?
yeah, I think this is where the draft really starts. I think the first three are, kind of solidified. And then I think for these next couple of picks, it's either one guy or the other. I could see them going Genty here. I think he's a blue chip guy. I could see them going Tet even, give my boy Drakey Poo, a receiver. But Will Campbell, he's a white tackle, and dude, he just comps out so perfectly for the Patriots. That's who I have going there. And it's just like he seems like a guy. I get that, like as we get closer to the draft, oh, Ahmad Membu could go there. They've interviewed him a lot, and I get that, like a lot of people comp out Ahmad Membu to end up going to the Patriots. But I feel like Will Campbell's just kind of like the guy. I mean, he can move into guard. He's debatably he's big for a tackle too. So it's like he's quick. I don't really see too many flaws in his game. And if you want to talk about blue chip guys, I think he's almost there. And I just think he's a great talent. If I was the Patriots, take a tackle, protect Drake May. You could, get another receiver, maybe second or third round, to help him out. 'Cause I think some of these receivers will end up falling.
Josh, you agree?
Yeah, I think this is where Will Campbell is going, but I think for the Patriots, this is almost like a loss. I think they really wanted maybe Shadir Sanders to go number 3 overall. They wanted some other player to go in so they can get one of two players, Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. However, I think the Patriots make this pick because they have to make this pick, but I think Ted would also be considered in this area because they do have a glaring need at wide receiver. However,
Mhm.
protection of Drake May must be priority here. And with Will Campbell, I mean, he has shorter arms, and that's been the why people are downplaying him. However, his footwork is there, and he has a lot of explosiveness to secure the left side for me. And after this signing, this would also pair him up with Morgan Moses, who they just signed in free agency on the right side. So you secure the outsides for Will Campbell for Drake May, and Will Campbell does just that for the New England Patriots.
Yeah, no, I agree right here. I say Will Campbell, he should be the clear-cut pick. And as far as a comp, so David DeCastro, he was at first a tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers a couple years back, or maybe like 2016. That's when he retired, something like that. He was tackled, then he moved into guard, and he became this all-pro player. I think Will Campbell is eventually going to move into guard just for the whole arm length thing, and it's going to just be a lot easier. They have needs all across the offensive line here, so I think they are going to go Will Campbell here. He's going to start out at tackle, but I think eventually he's going to transition into guard. But all right, number 5 right here. Brecken, you were last, right? So all right, it's Josh's
Mhm.
turn. The
Okay.
number 5 overall pick right here, the Jacksonville Jaguars. So this is where there's been rumors, maybe Tyler Warren. I even heard, I don't know how true these are, maybe Ashton Genty, maybe trading back. So what area do you think the Jaguars should go here?
I think it would be nice to see the Jags make a splash and create a 200 monster at either receiver or running back with new coach Liam Cohen. However, I just don't think this is realistic. They have too many needs on the defensive side of the ball, and one of those is the interior. Macy Graham would slide right in there with Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker on his outside, and I think that's where he needs to go. The Jaguars, you want to make your offense look nice and pretty. Maybe have Ashton Genty and Travis Etienne be your two-headed monster in the back, even with a little bit of Tank Bigsby in there. Paired Chet McMillan with Brian Thomas Jr. However, after getting rid of Christian Kirk, I think Mason Graham's the answer here. You really need to shore up your defensive line because this defense really fell off and they were terrible last year.
Brecken, you agree?
I mean, yeah, I think Mason Graham's a really good player here, but I really like Tyler Warren. I would love to see Tyler Warren go there. Um, I think it's like He can block. I mean, he can do everything. So you're helping out your own line because he can block a little bit. I mean, he's probably one of the better tight end prospects that we've seen in a while. I think this is a really good tight end class. So I know maybe they can get somebody later. Personally, I think this is perfect trade back position, like what Josh was saying earlier
Mhm.
with, them having so many needs. I could easily see like the Cowboys jumping or even, the Bears jumping the Raiders to go ahead and get Genty here. I think that would be perfect position if they trade back to 12. That's right around where, Tyler Warren's going, so they could get somebody like Warren or kind of hope, like a Walter Nolan falls. I really like him. And
Mhm.
he plays,
Yep.
in the same position as Mason Graham. They comp out pretty similarly. So I think this is a perfect trade back position for them. But you don't see that too often in the NFL. But if we're gonna stick and pick, I think Mason Graham is the smartest choice for them.
Yeah, no, Mason Graham, I feel like this is one of the guys outside of Adore Carter and Travis Hunter, where the other guy, you could just plug him in and he's going to be an absolute monster here. I think he really doesn't have no floor. I think this guy's going to be a high level player. This dude was dominating as a freshman at Michigan all the way till last year, the year before in college, he broke his foot and only missed 2 games. Only missed 2 games. So that should say everything you need to know about Mason Graham. So yeah, Mason Graham goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars here. And all right, not the Oakland Raiders. I always say this every time. The Las Vegas Raiders with Geno Smith, with Pete Carroll as their head coach now, Brecken. Where are they going?
I would love to see Tet go here, but we all know it's going to be Genty, or at least I hope it's Genty. That makes the most sense. I mean, he falls in their lap. Like I said earlier, I think somebody ends up trading with the Jags and stealing Genty from them, or maybe even the Raiders just swap picks with the Jags and maybe give up a third or a fourth. But I think it's going to be Genty. I would love to see Tet go here. I think this is a perfect spot for him because I would hate to see him fall too far down the board. But I think it's Genty, and you're sleeping easy with maybe one of the best running back prospects that we've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Genty as well. I think the Sean Payton has always loved his running backs, and I think the wait is over for where Ashton Genty's going to go. It's going to be to the Las Vegas Raiders. He's probably the third best player in the draft, and people almost consider him like the most surest thing you're going to get at the running back position. And Las Vegas needs a running back because last year they were terrible. They only averaged 3.6 yards per carry. So he really would add a explosiveness, vision, and they badly need this in their offense. And for my ceiling and floor, I put my ceiling, this is how sure I'm about Ashton Genty. His ceiling is LaDainian Tomlinson, and his floor is Frank Gore.
Okay, so I kind of
And
said something similar to Brecken the 40 minutes we were on here before you started.
What are you talking
no,
about? Brecken
but
got on here late.
no, but so I said LT LaDainian Tomlinson as well, and I said I think I told Brecken exactly this. Am I crazy for saying his floor is Maurice Jones-Drew? I I don't know if that's
Maurice
crazy.
Jones-Drew was a good running back in the
Exactly,
NFL.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. Like
I can see
I'm
that.
pretty much on the same lines as you as far as this is the most for sure guy right here as far as
hmm
at the running back prospect. That's why I was saying that.
I also see Devontae Freeman also. I could see that being his floor as
You
well.
you know who Brecken said who was kind of interesting? Doug
Derrick
Martin.
Henry.
Doug Martin. Yeah,
His floor is
Derrick
Derrick
Henry.
Henry. No,
No,
Doug
but
Martin I can see, but Doug Martin had a hell of maybe a Giovanni Bernard around that area. I think I could see those type of comps to him.
yeah. Okay. Let's just entertain this idea. If Ashton Genty falls, where would y'all like to see him go afterwards? Say we're
Cowboys.
putting him here at number 6. We're
Chicago
putting
Bears, bro.
Oh, I would love to see him go to Chicago, but if he fell to the Cowboys, oh my gosh, dude, Cowboy Nation would be. We're going to the Super Bowl again, boys. It's our year again,
we are
boys.
anyways.
We
We are
got
anyways.
we
We
were
are
we were
we
Super
are
Bowl
anyways.
bound before we got him. Now we're fucking Super Bowl and
We're for
MVP
sure.
man.
He's
But
winning MVP, Rookie of the Year, Super
no,
Bowl MVP.
I think if he went to the Bears, that'd be so good with their new head coach. What's his name? Ben Johnson, right?
Yeah.
And then, but if he went to the Cowboys, bro, it would break the internet. It would be I would have loved to see him go to the Cowboys, and I think it'd be a good fit too. So I think the Cowboys O line is kind of slept on. They're pretty decent.
Yeah, it was a young offensive line, but no, I
Yeah.
even coming from a Cowboys fan here, just if Ashton Genty, you know what? I told this to Josh yesterday because I have the 101 in Dynasty for people that don't know. I know Brecken and Josh know. If Genty goes to Chicago or Dallas, don't even send me trade offers. Don't even I'm not even entertaining that idea right there. Like just leave me alone. I'm a perfectly fine taking Genty 101. So I
Yeah,
already am, but even more for sure.
I was arguing with the dynasty is like if Genty goes to the Raiders because of their like O line situation and like I don't know, I get that they have Pete Carroll now and to be a different team, new year, new me, whatever. But it's like
Mhm.
if Genty goes to the Raiders and then Omarion Hampton goes to like the Bears, it's like, dude, do you take Omarion Hampton? It's like he's
Josh
gonna
and I were talking
eat.
about this yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that would be such a perfect situation. But I mean
Mhm.
that's later in the draft anyway. So.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit later right here. So, all right. Who just went? Okay. It was Brecken last. All right, Josh. The seventh overall pick. Jets. Aaron Rodgers out. New head coach in and with Aaron Glenn. Got Justin Fields in the offseason for a 2-3 year contract. Who are they taking right here?
I think many people would want them to go Tyler Warren here to add another weapon to that arsenal that Justin Fields would probably need. However, you cannot make this move. It would Justin Fields has been the best when he has time in the pocket, when he has a clean pocket in his NFL career. And I think you go Armand Mimbo right here from Missouri, the outside offensive tackle. Um, and plus, you could be able to slide him into the left tackle position after drafting Olu Fashanu last year at the right tackle position. And Justin Fields in his NFL career has had the second highest sack rating since being drafted at 10.5% on all dropbacks. So 1 out of 10 dropbacks, he's getting sacked every single time. You
Mm-hmm.
have to give him some time to throw the football. And I think Mimbu offers that for the New York Jets right here. And he only allowed 1 sack all last season.
Brecken?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think Membu's perfect fit, especially like he is young. He's only 21, and his explosion to power rate is insane. It's historic. He's tested in like I think it was like the 96th percentile. He's he's a freak athlete. He's not as big as Will Campbell, who went earlier. He's a little bit shorter, but he's got that arm length that everyone cares about. So I think even if he's not like a day one starter, um, that's perfectly fine. And then he has the versatility. Like he's got the arm length to play tackle, like where he's listed, and then he's got the speed and power to play guard. So like you can move him anywhere you want. I think he's like a Joe Tooney. I think he would just be perfect comp. And then if you put him on the Jets, I just love that pick in general. I'm not as high on Ahmad Medbu, but I think they really need offensive linemen. And Justin Fields, when he does have, a little bit time to throw and make dumb mistakes, sometimes they end up being miracles, and that's what you need.
Yeah, and just one more thing about Amon Membu. So I think he'd actually have a similar comp. So I know there's Joe Tooney there, but somebody on a lesser extent. I know this guy hasn't really been in the lineup these last few years. Last year he kind of was. Elijah Vera Tucker, somebody on the same team right here, somebody who could be guard and tackle right here. And I just think a zone blocking scheme with Justin Fields and Brees Hall, that would be perfect for him because he knows how to get downhill. He knows how to maul players. So all right, so Brecken, I know it's supposed to be your turn next, but I'm gonna let Josh go again. I think you kind of see why right here. So the Carolina Panthers right here, Josh.
I
Who
think
are
they're
they
going
taking?
Jalen. I think they're going Jalen Walker, a linebacker slash edge out of Georgia. I think this is the perfect pick for the Panthers. They have not had a steady presence in the linebacker room since Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly were there. I think bringing in Jalen Walker gives them someone who can maybe revitalize the group for them. He offers ability to run sideline to sideline and the second level, while also providing a high upside and coming off the edge, and to get to the quarterback with 6.5 sacks last season. For me, I put his ceiling is maybe Roquan Smith and his floor is Kyle Van Noy. I think he offers a lot of things that the Panthers needed. And I think he's a pretty good prospect in this year's draft.
So you got him playing linebacker and not off of the edge.
No, I said that he has the upside to play on the edge,
Okay,
but he
well,
he played majority linebacker.
I no. I really like him. I think they definitely go edge here. I love Mike Green. I think he's one of those like more for sure guys. I could see him easily going here. I think with Mike Green, he is a little bit older and stuff like that, but I think he's a guy that you could just kind of play at edge and just be like, cool, we're good, and just be designated edge. I like the versatility of Jalen Walker and Jahad Campbell. I don't hate the Jalen Walker pick. He's a Georgia guy, so he's probably going to be great in the NFL. So I would love to go Jalen Walker, but I could easily see Mike Green going here.
So, so I think he's going to end up being more linebacker ish. I kind of if he plays just pure linebacker, I know this is just a 1 year sample size, but what Zach Bond kind of did last year, as far as this edge player on New Orleans and went to linebacker to the Philadelphia Eagles, somebody who could just be great off ball, but another guy that I kind of picked was Anthony Barr, somebody who at times in moments he could be on the edge in a 3-4 scheme, but he could also be an outside linebacker or a middle linebacker. This guy's just versatile, and I just think this guy, he has a high floor. I just think so. But
And
all
I
right,
think he's a freak athlete enough, and he's so fast that like they need to be able to stop the run. With a just purely an edge player like Mike Green, you're not going to be able to stop the run as much. So I really like that Jalen Walker comp out. I want him to go very early.
so all right. The reason why I skipped Brecken, why Josh had 2 back-to-back picks, is because the New Orleans Saints are here at number 9. So Brecken, the floor is yours. Who are the New Orleans Saints taking here?
I really don't fucking care, dude. We're gonna suck ass either way. We're gonna be dog shit either way. I'm just kidding. Kellen Moore's gonna save us. No, I'm kidding. I fucking hate Drew Brees. Let me get started, dude. I hate
You hate Drew Brees?
not Drew Brees.
You
Derek
hate Drew
Carr.
Brees? Clip
Derek
that.
Carr.
Clip that.
Yeah,
Derek
Clip
Carr.
that.
Yeah, that
Clip
that
Derek
is being
Carr.
flipped.
That is being
No,
clipped.
I love my daddy
You
Drew.
fucked.
No, I hate Derek Carr, bro. Oh my god, I hate Derek Carr, dude. He genuinely pisses me off. I don't want us to trade him. I don't want us to cut him. I want him to ride out this year. We're gonna pay him. We have to. We don't have a choice. I want us to just waste his career so he doesn't play in the NFL anymore. He actually pisses me off with these fake injuries. With that being said, I would love Ted here. Maybe just let Spencer Rattler ride it out. But I'm gonna go with my boy Shadur. You know what I'm saying? I'm picking Shadur Sanders at quarterback. I think, to be honest, in my opinion, I think he should be going ahead of Cam Ward. I get the upside with Cam Ward and stuff like that, but I think whenever he's great at throwing the ball deep. He's pretty solid at throwing the ball over the middle. I don't care that he pats the ball before he throws it. I think Shador Sanders is actually going to be a great quarterback. He's not as mobile as you wish, but I don't know why throughout this draft process he's been falling and falling and falling. I think Shador is going to end up being the Saint and he's going to win a couple Super Bowls.
Josh, you agree?
Okay, let me talk about Shadir Sanders really quick. I think the Saints need to make this pick or suffer the consequences. I think with Derek Carr missing the entirety of the season with the shoulder injury and no real option at quarterback, Kellen Moore and the Saints need to make this move. Sanders, to me, is the best quarterback prospect in the draft by far. He does not make bad decisions like Cam Ward, and he has 2 complete seasons of solid consistency.
Okay, Brecken's back. Brecken's back.
All right, thanks for ruining my train of thought. Thanks for ruining my train of thought. I was
At least you agreed with
okay. Quarterback crash wreck in the draft by far. He does not make bad decisions like Cam Ward, and he has 2 complete seasons of solid consistency. He completed 74% of his passes last season, despite being under constant pressure and over 4,000 yards. He also had a 64-13 touchdown interception split in both the seasons in the Big 12 combined, while never dipping below a 150 passer rating one time in his entire college career. The Sanders era should begin in New Orleans soon. If they don't do that, they're crazy. I put for my comp for Shadir Sanders a more mobile Jared Goff, and I think that's a pretty good player if you ask me. Jared Goff, we know what he brings to decision making, in the pocket presence, all of that. But if you're able to get a guy that can just move a little bit more with a little bit more wiggle, I think that's a pretty good player in Shadir Sanders. But I put his floor is last year's Sam Darnold.
So I agree with you exactly. That's what I wrote. Geez, I wrote down as far as
come up with your own thoughts
Sanders.
already.
Yeah, I know. But I just think that I know there's that whole situation as far as he pats the ball, he holds the ball too long, as far as he takes more sacks than other quarterbacks, or it's just he has a smaller stature. He doesn't have that deep ball. I think New Orleans Saints would be perfect right here because if you have those concerns, he's in a dome. And then he goes to Atlanta, he goes to Tampa Bay, he goes to Carolina. So he's not going to have to deal with that. I know there's even concerns of if he throws a tight spiral. Sometimes I just feel like scouts, they overlook it. They try to look at potential and overall what they can be instead of looking at the current production of what they are. Because now more than ever, it's hard for quarterbacks to fail. It's hard for them to fail if you have a right offensive scheme around them. And I think Kellen Moore, he's perfect around them. I know he's always had good to great quarterbacks. He had Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts. So he knows how to coach up these guys, and they're all in different molds. So I think he could be really flexible with Shadur Sanders here. So I'd really like this pick. But all right, number 10 right here, the Chicago Bears. This is where it really gets interesting right here. So all right. I want this to be a consensus right here, number 10. So what are you guys thinking for Chicago here at 10?
For number 10 for me, I put Tyler Warren, tight end, from Penn State. I was torn between two prospects for the Chicago Bears. That's Tyler Warren and Kelvin Banks Jr. However, I think Big Ben Johnson would love to make a splash with a 6'6" tight end. I believe he will love to have a mismatch everywhere on the field because that is what Warren offers here, and it gives Caleb Williams weapons all along the field. I believe that there's enough running backs in this draft later on. I know I would love, as a Marion Hampton owner, I know I will have him in our Dynasty League. As an Marion Hampton owner, I would love to see him go to a team like the Chicago Bears. But for me, you can wait on running back. There's a lot of different options later in the draft, especially later in round 1, round 2, even round 3. There's a lot of options. And I just think the Bears right here need to go after Tyler Warren. His comp ceiling for me is TJ Hawkinson, and his floor is Kate Otten. And I just think that would offer a really big time threat, even pairing him with Cole Kmet, who I don't think has really reached his peak, but I think Tyler Warren would immediately be next year in that Brock Bowers, Trey McBride range.
I like Tyler Warren. I don't think you take him here. I love Walter Nolan. I was talking about him earlier. I think that he should go here at this spot. Malachi Starks was also interesting to me. I think, I get positional value, but I think if any team's not going to care about it, it's going to be it's going to be the Bears with Ben Johnson. But I would have Walter Nolan. I'm really high on him at defensive tackle, defensive tackle. I think he shores up that interior defense, and it really just helps out. They spent a lot of money on O line, and I've even seen people where like, with the Kelvin Banks could go here because he can move around, and stuff like that. Because they signed somebody at tackle, and he's not like amazing, but he is solid. Um, and so, but I have Walter Nolan going here. I love Walter Nolan. I'm really high on the guy.
So I'm going to have to split the difference here between Walter
Mhm.
Nolan and. So I have on my prospect list, I have Tyler Warren 6 and I have Walter Nolan 7 right here. So I think I'm going to have to lean more towards Walter Nolan here. He's my favorite prospect right here. I
Mhm.
think this guy is just pure athlete. And if he puts it all together, I was telling Josh yesterday, he could be like a Jalen Carter type. I'm not saying that good, but he has similar traits to him. And I just think that he has all the athletic tools, all the size, all the skills, and he is a great run blocker. That's not any concerns. It's just as far as him actually getting off the line whenever it's passing down situations here compared to where Jalen Carter was more developed. So I think this guy from number 1 in high school to even one of the best, even in college, from A&M to Ole Miss, I'm going to have to lean towards Walter Nolan here. But all right. Now let me ask you guys a question because the top 10 is officially done. Let me go through it. Cam Ward to Tennessee Titans. Browns get Travis Hunter. 3 is Abdul Carter. 4 Patriots get Will Campbell. 5 Jaguars, Mason Graham. 6 Ashton Genty to the Raiders. Jets get Armand Mimbu at 7. Jalen Walker 8 to the Panthers. Shadur Sanders 9 to the Saints. Then number 10, the Bears, they take Walter Nolan. So quick question right here. Out of all these top 10 guys right here, who would be the one that you're like, okay, this guy is going to end up being a bust here?
Jalen Walker.
Jalen
Uh,
Walker by far?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these guys are pretty for sure. Mod Membu's enough of a freak athlete and he can move around. I feel like Shador. I mean, to be honest, maybe Cam Ward.
Yeah,
I could see
Mhm,
him being a bust. Yeah, but
mhm.
I'm gonna go with Cam Ward over Jalen
I
Walker. I think.
disagree with the Jalen Walker one. I think Jalen Walker is also a freak athlete. I think he's gonna fit it. I think he's gonna have a good career no matter where he goes.
Mhm. So
I
who would
just
you say? You're gonna say Cam?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward. I just don't see it, man. Like I don't believe in 1 year breakouts. I just think we even saw some of the decision making. That's a problem. Like
is
decision making isn't just something that's got he has bad decision making, but he has all the talent around. I mean,
We've heard that before.
I turned around with Will Levis a little bit after year one just because of what I seen from like 1 or 2 games. But he is who he is. Like he ended up in year two
Oh,
just
why don't you
absolutely.
believe me when I say that about Will Levis, Josh?
In year two, now I do. He now in year two he absolutely just shit the bed. Like the ball was in every other player's hands but the Tennessee Titans. And I just think Cam Ward, I think it's just the same thing waiting to happen. And I don't think he has that much more arm talent than Will Levis. If we're being completely honest, I think Will Levis definitely is up there when it comes to arm strength and putting the ball um like deep down the field. Cam Ward has maybe not even as good as Will Levis. And Will Levis also had the knock of bad decision making coming into the draft.
Yeah, I
If
feel the same way. I feel like comping these guys, and they're almost the same age. There's only like about a year difference.
Yeah.
So like I feel like if you are over enthused with Cam Ward on all these great things about him, it's like, dude, they were saying the same things about Will Levis. I didn't understand why, like from the get go, everybody's like, oh yeah, they're going Cam Ward over Will
Mhm.
Levis. I think they what would have made sense is if they went Travis Hunter at 101 or Abdul Carter. But I mean, Vegas betting odds are never wrong, especially when it's
Yeah.
negative 20,000. But I think for sure Cam Ward is the most likely, especially being the 101. It's so hard to live up to that hype.
If if I had to say one guy besides Cam Ward, I'm not gonna say Travis Hunter, Duke Carter, Will Campbell, Mason Graham. I think those guys are lock in. If I had to pick one, I think it would be between Armand Mimbu and Walter Nolan. And I would say Mimbu, yes, he is a great athlete. I just think that he needs to put it just all together. As far as the zone scheme, he'd be perfect there. But also, it just depends. This is another thing. It depends where these players get drafted and how they get put to use. Because we saw with the Jets just several years back with, I know Mekhi Becton was like 6'7", but he was this pure athlete and just had all the potential in the world. But it wasn't until he got with Philly till he actually became that great of a guard slash tackle wherever they had him at the moment. So I would say Armand Membu, where we have him going at the Jets, just because I know they don't develop offensive line as well. I know it's a new staff, but just based off the history, I would say that. I think Shadur Sanders, I know there's some people that are not high on him, but I'm high on Shadur Sanders, which we just talked about. But all right, now this is where it gets interesting right here.